So, hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Navigating the Aging Journey. This is meant for caregivers and loved ones and anybody who is interested in learning more. Because, as we have shared in the previous podcasts, that this is likely something that none of us have gone through before. We are all, facing aging and the challenges that are coming as we're aging really differently. I am excited to be here tonight. I'm Jami Shapiro. You see by the letters next to my name, I am a certified senior advisor, which Julie was normally with me on the call, but she had great Padre seats and asked if I could cover. She said that getting her CSA was harder than getting her MBA. So I'm going to take that. I don't have my MBA, but what is really nice about a certified senior advisor is that we study a breadth of information on aging and all of the challenges that will come up and the everything that comes on the aging journey, and that goes from health issues to insurance issues to ethical, wills and all across, aging in place as we have Jacqueline with us tonight. I am also the owner of Silver Linings Transitions. We provide senior move management and home organizing services, and people don't even know that that industry exists. So we'll definitely be doing an episode all about the industry. And just briefly to let you know that next month we will be doing aging and ADHD, because that's a thing that people don't even realize actually doesn't go away when we age, and we have a whole generation of people who were not diagnosed. So we will be offering that in our October session, and I will actually be leading that. I'm an ADHD coach, and I just wrote a book that will be out in October on this subject. So enough about that. I want to introduce Jacqueline Silverman. She is the founder of Aging Advisory Services and also a certified senior advisor, helping older adults and their families navigate age-related challenges with clarity and confidence. She specializes in aging in place planning, home safety strategies, and connecting clients with trusted resources for support, independence, and well-being. Okay, Jacqueline, I'll let you kind of fill in the gaps with that, but we're going
Hi.
to be discussing with you aging in place and what that means. So, hi, thank you for being here.
Hi, I am very happy to be here. I love talking to you all the time, and getting to do it on this webinar is just great. The name of your webinar, Navigating All of the Changes and Challenges, is so perfect because we are navigating a journey. And I'd say once we hit the 60 mark, we're on our way. And congratulations on your book, by the way, too. So, aging in place, as you just talked about, it encompasses so much. We are all waking up every day, aging in place, thank goodness. And all of these elements of our lives of health and finance and home and resources and family all fall under this broad catch all phrase of aging in place. Um, the way I've looked at it is specifically in light of how are you aging in place in the home you love, the home where you are, with safety, with comfort, and the idea that you can live your life with independence and autonomy, live life on your own terms. And that last part, living life on your own terms, really becomes the key to the work that we're doing in aging in place. And I'll just start by saying that in a way, I owe my mother for my work in this field. It's a career I started about 5 years ago, but going way back, I was experiencing her aging, kind of front row seat to that. And what I kept hearing over and over again from mom was, oh, don't worry, I'll know when it's time to make changes. I'll know when it's time. And time again, I see people believe they're going to know when it's time to make those changes. And in her case and others, they generally wait until something's happened, a fall, an injury, something else. And that forces their hand, it limits their options. So my work is ideally about helping people get ahead of that moment, get ahead of the curve. And I coined the phrase, the rookie mistake, thinking you'll know when it's time to make changes, but waiting until your needs overcome your wishes. So that's kind of the backdrop background.
Okay, great. Before we get started, I did mute everybody just for the sound quality, but if you have a specific question that brought you here today, I want to make sure that we are, addressing that and giving you what you're here for because you're here for that live presentation. So you're welcome to unmute and ask, and if not, I'll just, start asking questions. Bueller, Bueller, it's a member from Ferris Bueller.
Yes.
I'm
No,
just trying to bring levity to the situation. So, okay. All right then. So what does aging in place really mean, Jacqueline?
I think to me, and I go back to what I said earlier, I think to me it's living life on your own terms, really, regardless of where you're calling home. And we talk about having independence and autonomy. I look at autonomy as different, that you have wishes and your wishes are being met. You know what you want in life, you know how you want things to go, and you've set yourself up so that can happen. And in the work I'm doing with all sorts of people, solo agers, adult couples, the adult children of seniors. Right now, I have a group of 7 church friends who are helping my new client. I have the daughter of the mother of a friend who's helping a senior. So all sorts of folks. Um, I think what we're trying to do is get to a place where we're essentially asking for help and realizing that we can make plans, we can be prepared, but we don't do this alone. That it really does take this idea of asking for help. And there's this paradox of the more you ask for help, the more independent you will be. And I think it really plays out in this scenario as, again, we look step by step, because kind of Buddhist philosophy. In life, everything changes. Time changes everything. And when we think we'll know, or we've always done things this way, we've always managed the stairs, we've always been able to handle the stove and pots and cooking being different dinners, we've been able to drive at night, all of that stuff, things change. So, how are we going to address it in order to have our independence and our autonomy regardless of where we're calling home?
Sure. You brought something up before everyone hopped on the call when you were talking about how we are, in a very different we're approaching aging in a very different way. I think that's super helpful for everybody to have that context. If you could share that, how we have so many
Uh,
generations together now.
yeah, we're in such different times. I've been listening to podcasts, and I recently heard a gerontologist on hidden brain, and she's talking about statistically how this is the first time in our history that we have massive numbers of people in our population living into the 80s, 90s, 100s, where for millennia back, people maybe lived till 18 or 20 or 30. So this aging thing is kind of new, and the challenges and the struggles. And it's why you're seeing people like me and us working in the field, and you're seeing so many new products and so many new industries crop up around aging, because that aging population is growing, and it requires a whole new set of tools and a whole new mindset and a whole new
Yeah.
approach.
I want to also add that, as we're aging, as our parents are aging, we are also aging. And so some of us, may not even be in the condition that our parents are in. We may even be in worse condition depending on lifestyle choices and all that stuff. So you could have, 70, 80-year-olds caring for their adult children. And that's also changing. So what do you think the most common misconceptions are of adult children about, their parents staying in their homes?
Great question. I think there are a few things that I encounter a lot. One are kids who are worrying almost too much. Mom and dad looked older when we saw, we haven't seen them in 3 months and things changed and we're worried and we think they should move. That's a leap, right? what comes with that is, have you had conversations? So there's tends to be that gap where kids are reacting to the parents, and there's sort of a stalemate in conversation. The parents are saying, "Don't worry, we're fine, leave us alone." And often the kids are not comfortable talking about it. So, kind of a few things. One is being able to judge the situation, being able to talk about the situation, and then also for adult kids to be able to hear their parents. So often, the parent wants to sit down and say, "Hey, I want to talk to you. Things are changing. I want you to be aware of what's happening with the estate, or what I want to do with this object when I die, when I'm no longer here." And kids are like, "No, no, no, we don't need to talk about it now. Everything's going to be fine." So that can be a really big obstacle in trying to create some sort of communication and harmony that families can work together to support these changes. So if we could talk more about the communication, and also just being the openness of the kids themselves to learning more, seeing more, asking the parents more questions, understanding where the parents are coming from, what they want, what matters to them, and also just being able to hear and be comfortable with that conversation.
We've had a lot of talk on those conversations in the beginning of our webinar series, so I would encourage people to go back because I wanna really focus our attention with you because we haven't had anybody come in yet that's really talked about any home modifications and assessments and all of that stuff. So, what would you say are the biggest, safety hazards that need to be addressed, for our aging parents and even for us, you know?
Uh, I think, again, aging in place in your home, right? So, um, I think in general, there are kind of five factors I'll look at when I'm organizing things for aging well. And that's really giving yourself a good self-evaluation, being introspective, talking to yourself or talking to a friend if need be about what's really important to you, what's going to matter to you. You're in your 60s, your 70s, you're looking ahead at that time horizon, change of life, what really matters. And also accepting this idea of the changes that are going to come with age. So, there may be a diagnosis that you've gotten, there may be concerns you have about health moving into the future, even dementia, or just natural changes where our hearing, our vision, our strength, our mobility, all of that starts to change. So, and also the emotional side of aging, right? The importance of people in your life, the importance of staying around people, avoiding being isolated, having good mental health. All of that is part of this sort of honest conversation with yourself, also looking at your support system. So often I'll talk to somebody and they're, say, "Well, what would happen if you just fell and broke your ankle right now and couldn't get up the stairs and couldn't make dinner and couldn't get in the car? What would you do?" "Oh, I'll call my son." "Well, where does your son live?" "On the other side of the country." "Does he know he's the one that you're going to call? Is he able to drop everything and come and help you?" Or you even look at, what do you really want those people you're counting on to do for you? If it's kids, if it's a spouse, how personal are they getting? What if there's incontinence? What if, all of these different things that happen with aging happen? So looking at your support system, looking at your resources. So many people, they plan financially for retirement, but not for aging well. So at the basis, of course, are the financial resources. Um, and looking at the community, is where you're living right now even the right place for you? Um, we all want to live in a wonderful place that people want to visit us, but do you have the resources, the access to things that you're going to need, transportation? Um, you'll start to see friends moving away, family moving away. So again, really looking at your environment, your community, and going back to this not being alone. It's very cavalier to say, "I can be alone, I can do it." Generally, most people are not alone. There are people that do love them and care about them and worry about them. And by you not making decisions for yourself is putting more burden on those folks. So it's a real comprehensive get real with yourself. And when you're saying things like, you'll have to take me out first, feet first from the house, these are all, that's the denial. That's the not really accepting and getting real. So I guess, looking at aging in place around the idea of aging in the right place. This is before we actually talk about the physical home, the physical mechanics of things. So I think, those are challenges and um, key areas and steps and things you can do to sort of just prepare and get a picture in order to have a plan. It's kind of creating a vision of your life to then say, well, how am I going to create that vision? What will the
So
goal? Mhm.
when you're walking into a senior's home and you're doing a consultation, can you kind of walk us through like what that process looks like so that people have an understanding of what you're looking at and what you're doing and that kind of thing?
Yeah. When I'm meeting with people, I call it a general assessment. It's where I spend the program I've set up is I'll spend generally 2 hours with people in their home. And after 2 hours, everybody's eyes are rolling and we're done. But it generally takes that long. And we sit down and what are we doing? We're getting to know each other because I am a stranger coming into their lives. So I want to get to know them me, and start to feel comfortable and that I can be trusted in opening up about very sensitive conversations. What I find is because I'm a neutral person, I'm not the kids or I'm right, I'm that third party neutral. Boy, do people open up. And sometimes when I'm with the family and the kids are in the room, the kids are looking at me because I may be saying to their parents the same thing that they're saying, but I'm being heard differently. So the value of this neutral party is tremendous. I call it the magic sauce just because, I don't have the baggage. But anyway, we're sitting down, and I'm hearing what's really going on. I had a couple that where the kids called me. The son was in London, the daughter was in the Midwest. They said, "Wow, our parents live in our childhood home, and dad's changing. Like he's like walking slower, he's shuffling, and we convinced them to have you come and do a home safety evaluation." So great. Met the parents, big, beautiful, sprawling house. They met me at the door. Dad was shuffling a little bit, but we sat down to talk. It took 30 minutes before the wife said, well, he just got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So I don't know if the kids knew. I didn't coming in. And at that point, I was able to say, okay, we're going to have a very different conversation now about your future and your plans than just, you're losing your energy and can't walk as far and fast. So that kitchen table or whatever, living room conversation is where we really open up and I am hearing what really are the issues going on. And that's going to lead me to be able to eventually come back and say, here's where I'm seeing the priorities. Because all of, the changes, the challenges can seem overwhelming. And people are like, where do we start? Who do we turn to? How do we navigate this? So I want to be able to assess enough about health, about lifestyle, about who's in your life, about what's really worrying you, all of those questions that are not obvious, um, to make a good assessment and priorities. Part of what I do is also a home safety evaluation. So I will walk through the home with the adults or adult. And while I'm doing that, I am observing them. I'm always observing them. And I'm watching how are they navigating through the house? Are they holding on to furniture? Are they balancing, wobbling when they stand up? Are they pausing? Are they getting disoriented? What's happening as we're walking through the house? And that's where I'm making my assessment of the physical environment and things for modification that we can talk about. Um, and at that point, we move forward with coming up with a plan, a roadmap, what I
Mhm.
call an assessment report. So that process of talking first, moving through the house second, and then combining the two elements of needs and how to make the home safe right now and appropriate longer term based on what's going on. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions so far? Anybody? Okay. So what would you say, a home assessment looks like? What is it that you're looking at? What are some things, that adult children can put into place
Yeah.
sooner rather than later?
Um, One area is, which I think is often looked, is the whole kind of accident prevention, fire safety, air safety, security. So, and that goes hand in hand with deferred maintenance. That the house itself, are there smoke detectors? Are there carbon dioxide detectors that work? Is there a security system where, the doorbell, there's a good peephole at the door, a good video doorbell, a ring doorbell, things that just protect the safety of the residents in the house. Deferred maintenance is a big, let's call it an elephant in the room. As we get older, we're like, I don't have to fix that, or I don't want to spend the money on that, or I'm so used to it, I don't see the problem. And whether it's appliances or the physical surroundings, they can be huge fall risk, accident risk, not only for the residents, but guests, family, people visiting. So that package is something we look at. Um, entryways. When I walk up to a house, I'm looking at the ground surface, the steps. Are the steps smooth? Are there railings? Is there enough light? Is the house number large enough? We're looking at a security system, an alarm system. The
Mhm.
other areas are fall prevention, general accessibility and mobility in the home, and other things that really bring comfort and peace of mind being in the home. And we can get specific into all of those. Another category unto itself, which we can touch on, is when you have somebody living with dementia in a home, because that brings up a whole new range of potential home modifications to make sure that person, that it's a dementia sensitive home, essentially, that person can live without being triggered and in danger. So there's add on there.
I,
But
I
Mhm.
I'm going to say, I think that we're going to end up doing a whole session on dementia specifically because there is so much and that's going to be really specific. But I did want to mention when you said fall risks that my experience with home organizing as a home organizing company and senior move manager is clutter is actually something that people can do pretty quickly. Well, depending on the situation, that is, it's a definite tripping hazard and making sure that there are clear walkways, just from my perspective as a senior move manager, but also a lot of times we recommend removing rugs because of the transitions and flooring can be.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we talk about major fixes and which can involve remodeling and renovation and more expensive costs, and then simple fixes. So when you're talking about simple fixes, it's again looking around at your home, and as you're navigating, um, falls are like the number one risk for seniors. 1 out of 4 people over 65 fall a year. 70% of falls happen at home, and 80% of the falls happen in the bathroom. So, fall prevention, just looking down, are there throw rugs, area rugs, rugs that slide that can be removed completely to create an open space and prevent tripping? Um, you also look at thresholds, going from different materials, going from carpet to a wooden floor to a marble floor, and looking at the height of thresholds indoors, all of those can become tripping hazards. As again, whether it's eyesight, being distracted, for people with dementia, with cognitive impairment, that's a big issue. Clutter and decluttering and move managers, I am always referring that source and helping folks with that. It's peace of mind. Another thing to look at is you want to be able to move through your space safely and freely. So if you've got cords from all of your phones and iPads and all of that, if there are cords running across walkways, if light cords are not, set up properly, those are all tripping hazards. And again, think of yourself and think of the guests and visitors in your home. A lot of people live in houses with split levels in the older houses. If you have one step, that's a tripping hazard. if somebody's not paying attention and doesn't see the stairs. So one step, two step, three steps, you can put a railing that matches your decor. And all of a sudden it creates a visual that, oh, there are steps there, or there is a step there, as well as something to hold on to, and just kind of creating contrast between your steps and the landing. One of the places people fall most often is on the top step and the bottom step, in part because we're not being mindful. You get to the bottom of the stairs, you're off and running. At the top of the stairs, you're heading where you're going. So little tricks we talk about are count your steps, or again, create visual contrast. So if the stairs are wood, don't have the same wood color on the landing, do something to change that. Whether you're painting or putting a non-slip tread on the edge of the stair, or even marking it using your banisters or putting a planter or something, in the area, anything to create that visual to prevent tripping on stairs, um, and decluttering, like you said.
One of the things that I learned in my studying was you mentioned it too, the bathroom, that the bathroom is usually the biggest risk that we have for falls. Can you talk about what we can do to make the bathroom safer?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the place to start. And I'll say a bunch of things on that. One is, I'd say if you're 60 or older, you should have grab bars in your bathroom. Grab bars are, um, if you slip and fall, you want to be able to grab that bar. So first of all, some people talk about suction cup grab bars. Just consider them a no-no. My aunt learned the hard way. She called me and said, "Oh, I didn't listen to you. I got suction cups. I stepped out of the shower. I slipped. I grabbed my suction cup bar and it went down with me." Unfortunately, she was okay. So having grab bars that are professionally installed, I spend a lot of time with folks, but actually going in and out of the shower, or in and out of the bathtub, or up and down from the toilet seat to really see where you need the bars to help you pull up or hold to sit down and have balance. And having them professionally installed by um, folks that know how to work with tile and wood, so your nothing will be damaged. And again, things will be installed at the right height and the right angles. Things people should consider are your toilet paper holders. Often they're wobbly, hanging on a wooden sink vanity. So replacing those or reinforcing them so the toilet paper holder isn't loose, because people might press down on that to stand up. And not having solutions for your towels. So your towel bar is not being used as a grab bar, because it's not reinforced enough. And your grab bar doesn't get used as your towel bar. Um, Showers and bathtubs, I kind of twofold. I had a client recently who just fell. Smaller guest bathroom. The toilet's right next to the tub. The toilet was a lower toilet, but they had put a raised seat on it. But when the gentleman stood up, he must have reached out to grab the shower curtain, thinking, and lost his balance and fell. So twofold. One is looking at the shower bathtub so that you can ultimately have a curbless shower, a walk-in shower with an open door that somebody, if needed, down the line, it's safer, but down the line, somebody could wheel there. You can use a wheelchair access if needed, or standby. Somebody could be assisting you in the shower and get in without having a threshold. Having a bench or a chair in the shower, and replacing those shower heads with not only a hand wand or a shower head with a hand wand combination, but having that wand on a sliding bar so that if somebody is sitting down underneath the shower heads, you can lower that bar, the hand wand, excuse me, and be hands-free. So simple, inexpensive solution. If you've got to change out that hardware, adding a plastic chair, building in a teak bench, however you do it, there are different options. But those elements in the shower are so important. The higher toilet seat helps make it much easier to stand up and sit down. So whether you have a higher seat or you use just a portable commode or portable handrails. Again, you don't have to necessarily buy a new toilet. The current toilets are 17 to 19 inches high. You can do other fix-its that are cost effective. Um, Again, clutter. Counters should be clear. The floors should be clear. Find new places for storage. And if you're concerned about someone with cognitive impairment, get the medications away. Get them into a safe place. One of the tips I give is often, especially in a smaller bathroom, if you think about the possibility that somebody could fall in the bathroom, and when you go to open the door opens in. If they fall in front of the door, you can't reach them. It happens all the time. So take off the door if the concern or the fall risk is high, or use something with a handyman's help. They have swing away hinges where the door now can open. You change the way the door opens so it opens out. And a swing away hinge will also have the door open wider, which makes the door width wider so that two people or a wheelchair can fit through more easily. But it's something strong to consider. Um, Another thing is getting to the bathroom. Most falls happen in the bathroom and many happen at night. So just thinking about lighting the way from the bedroom to the bathroom, using motion lights, having an easy toggle switch in the bathroom, or even a motion light in the bathroom for those nighttime visits is really important. And having clear walkway paths to get from the bed to the bathroom. So if you've got a million beautiful pillows on your bed for decoration, where are they going at night? If they're by the foot of your bed, that's a tripping hazard. So really considering practicing that navigation. Um, Another kind of tip in regard to the nighttime walking bathroom is if people are wearing their fall detection advice, whether it's the medical guardian, help me, I've fallen, or your Apple Watch that has fall detection. How many people take those off and charge them at night? And night is when you really need to be wearing them. So find that other time of day when you're sitting and having coffee or, reading the paper, that becomes your charging time, not when you might be walking at night. So, there's lots with bathrooms. You can go from doing simple fixes, shopping off of Amazon or using a medical supply store and a handyman and professional bar installers, or, when it comes to the showers and changing a bathtub shower into a walk-in curbless shower, a custom job with a general contractor can run $30,000 and higher these days. You can also work with companies that have prefab showers that can be installed generally in 2 days, if not 1 day. And even though you see them advertised for $1,000, $2,000, I'd say you still need to budget a good $5,000 to install one of those. But again, there's just lots of options, but the bathroom needs a lot of attention. Your guest bathroom, as well as, the bathrooms you're all using. I'll bring up one more point with the bathroom, which leads to being creative about your spaces. How many people I've worked with where, and it's generally the men, the husband is on the side of the bed or whichever partner is on the side of the bed that's furthest from the bathroom, and they're the ones that need to get to the bathroom with the greatest ease. So change the side of the bed that you're sleeping on. Simple things like that could make all the difference in fall and risk mitigation, which is really one of the primary things we're going for when we start doing our aging in place modifications.
Those were excellent. Those were excellent things I hadn't even considered or thought of. One thing that I did want to share, so just a fun fact, my ex-husband is a social gerontologist, and he did studying on aging in place. And one of the things that he taught me is how important upper body strength is. So you mentioned like getting off the toilet seat. So the better our upper body strength is, then we can lift ourselves up. So that's just sort of like, while we're all in that space to be thinking about it, it's just something that I wanted to make sure that I highlighted for people.
It's great you did. And again, it goes back to that bigger picture. I started taking balance classes at the YMCA. My husband, I'm in my 60s. My husband is much older and he's going to the Y and he started balance class because of, falls and back and knee issues. And he said, "Oh, you've got to come and try it." Well, I've got to tell you, everybody, those chair exercise classes and balance are phenomenal because the classes are they're addressing all of your muscles, upper body strength, quad strength, the things you need to stay balanced. And if you're going to trip and fall, when we're younger, we can get through it. We can catch it or we can bounce back. But at a certain stage, a fall could really lead to breaks and such serious issues. So yeah, this whole manage your costs of care for aging by taking care of yourself and avoiding accidents is the name of the game.
Sure. I've also heard like little things like putting buttons on microwaves that you can feel them from a tactile, so you know where the start button is if your eyes aren't doing well.
Great trip. Yeah.
And also handles that we don't have to grip, that we can sort of just like pull with arthritic hands. I mean, I'm just, throwing things that I've learned through the years. I don't do what you do, but
But yes, I mean, and anything you're saying is terrific. And again, I think when we're walking through the house, we're looking at the safety issues. We're going room to room, right? So the bathrooms are so important. We go into the kitchen, and in the kitchen, the bathroom, everywhere, handles. Yes, if you've got little knobs, not as we get older, again, grabbing a knob and pulling becomes harder with dexterity. Turning sink faucets harder with arthritis, dexterity. Also, having a cold and a hot could lead to burns, whereas if you have a lever that brings your cold and hot together might be safer. So yeah, simply changing out the handle. You don't have to do a full kitchen remodel to buy some new handles and end up with either lever handles on your doors and pull handles on your cabinets. Uh, and then going back to space, having again enough space to maneuver if somebody did need to be in a wheelchair and what kind of changes would be needed.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's in the bigger picture, something called universal design, which maybe you've talked about it, but it's this.
We have not talked about it yet, so I would love for you to share what that
I'll
is.
touch on it now. It's a concept that was part of the development world and city planning, and it goes back ages. So when you see a sidewalk that ends in a ramp, that would be a public universal design project. Because what does that mean? Anybody in a wheelchair with crutches, a baby carriage, a bicycle can go from the sidewalk safely to the street without a curb. So universal design is now more and more being brought into the principles, certainly in public spaces, and now the private residence. So you will find I'm a certified aging in place specialist, and I think you mentioned that at the beginning.
I think, I don't remember, but anyway, go
But
ahead and
it
share.
does it. So you'll find a lot of general contractors, designers, interior designers, developers that are certified aging in place specialists and universal design experts. What they're doing is creating space that's accessible to all people, regardless of their abilities and their age and their needs. And it's done with design that might not be noticeable. For example, if you're redoing your bathroom, you can install a, a bathroom sink vanity where the cabinet underneath can be taken out or rolled out and taken away if at some point someone was in a wheelchair, right? So your bathroom looks fabulous as always, and then you have that model. But the larger concepts and the things that we need to be thinking about are if we can no longer manage stairs for whatever the reasons, if there's a wheelchair, we want one level living that comprise the universal design concept. So you have an accessible bedroom, fully accessible bathroom, outfitted as we talked about, access to a kitchen and laundry, all on the first floor of your house. You ideally want no step entry, which can be really challenging in most houses. Um, those are, two key features. You want an abundance of lighting with easy toggle switches or dimmers. Um, and and then and working kind of around those principles. So we can't always move. So what can you do in your own house to create this idea of one level living? And is it taking, again, the couple I mentioned with the Parkinson's, by the time I left that first meeting, the decision was made that the downstairs office was going to become his bedroom, and the downstairs bathroom, we made all the design changes to how that was going to become his full bathroom with a walk-in shower. And I'll tell you, the wife was in a state of shock that, we went from talking about changes to facing what the Parkinson's was going to bring and making it possible for him to live there much longer, which it did. So, there are creative solutions.
Right. That brings up something that I have shared before in other quotes, but I always like to drive it home. And that was a quote that I heard, that it's just because your eyes are closed doesn't mean it isn't there. And, I think so many of us, and I'm there too, we want to deny aging. We want to deny that these things are going to happen and change, but we also can deny ourselves into a problem if we don't, just confront it and address it. And the other one that I like to say is crisis doesn't make an appointment, so
That's it. And you can do the planning is fine, but if you plan and there's a crisis, you're not ready. It's preparing, it's making changes. And speaking of Jerry, I didn't know that about your ex-husband, but there is a geriatrician who wrote a book and uses the phrase elderhood. And I'm loving it. What she means by that is essentially we've had our childhood and our adulthood. Our elderhood is starting at 60, and that's giving us a long runway of time based on longevity that we, to our 90s to our hundreds. And how are you going to prepare for the changes that are going to happen? And it's thank goodness that we were going to grow older, and grow older with that grace and dignity is going to require these, opening, seeing whether your eyes are, whatever your eyes are closed or open. Yeah. It's seeing what's really there.
Right. Okay. Well, I want to see if anybody has any questions as we start to wrap up. And also, Jacqueline, if you can share how people can reach you, because you do offer, in-home assessments. So I'd love for you to share your information. It'll go onto the webinar and that we will put on our websites. But if you can just share it here too.
That's great. Thank you. And I will share my information. And I'm also happy to, if anybody reaches out to me or through you, send a handout or two that are a little more comprehensive and thorough about just sort of the checklists and things to think about. That information is available all over the internet, but I have my own materials I'm happy to share. So, Jacqueline Silverman, my business is Aging Advisory Services. I am a certified senior advisor and a certified aging in place specialist. My phone number is 858-395 7733. Call, text, or find my website, agingadvisoryservices.com. And you can email me at jacqueline@agingadvisoryservices.com. But I would love to hear from you, and offer, just any assistance I can.
We did get a question in the chat from Carrie. She says, can you address convincing parents to allow extra help in the home? So I'm glad. Thank you, Carrie, for asking that question.
It's a great question, and it's I guess there's more than one elephant in the room. That's another one. Uh, yeah, it's a tough one, and I'll share maybe two ways to look at it. One is, or three ways. One is really getting clear on where the help is needed and pointing out examples and asking your parents to just take the interview, give it a try. What I do is talk with people about that, and really make a personal match with who in the home care world I think would be a good fit for them. And I try to bring in a case manager or care manager to move that process forward. Another thing is talking to them about what they're expecting you to do to help. Like, where are they going to go for this help that you see them needing, and getting honest about that. And the third thing is you might reach a point if you're getting, total opposition to this idea of, I don't want a stranger in my house, I don't need help, blah, 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 that you can only change yourself and change what you do. So it may be that you have to make some hard choices of saying, wow, the next time, I don't mean if they call in an emergency, you jump to help. But if it's, oh, can you come over and take me to the grocery store or whatever, maybe it's, you know what? First, let's have that meeting with the home care person or that meeting with Jacqueline. Then, then we'll do that. Or I'll do that if you agree to have that meeting with the home care person or Jacqueline, that sort of thing. So thinking about how you can change what you're doing um, to open that conversation up.
That's a
Hope
great
that's
point.
helpful.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Does anybody else have any other questions for Jacqueline before we wrap up? Okay, I just want to again share that we are going to be doing an aging and ADHD webinar on October 7th at 7:30. We always meet on the second, I think yeah, the second Tuesday. Is this, no, first Tuesday. I'm sorry. The 7th is the first Tuesday. Sorry. Okay. All right, well, there are no other questions. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. And then if anybody has anything they didn't want to ask while we're recording, you can, take this time to do that really quickly. So let me stop the recording. Thank you so much, Jacqueline Silverman, for being here today. Again, Jacqueline is with Aging Advisory Services, and I am Jami Shapiro with Silver Linings Transitions, and I am a certified senior advisor. We are missing Julie Derry of Aging 123. She is also a certified senior advisor and provides placement and referral services when people are considering moving to a community. So, all right, I'm going to stop the recording.